for a notice of motion bylaw 10-2004, discharge of firearms and bows. At this point, I'll ask for Scott Giles to come forward, please.
Thank you, Council, for letting me speak tonight. My name is Scott Giles. I'm 56 years old. I've lived in Kingsville all my life, as have all 5 of my generations of my family. I'm a licensed, trained, insured, experienced, and law-abiding firearms owner. I understand this motion has been brought forth due to the fun, legal, and safe hunting, target, and trap shooting that occasionally happens on my farm. We have been lawfully doing this for the past 10 years without incident, as we are a group of like-minded hunters, target, and sport shooters who take our safety seriously. I understand there have been some concerns regarding safety and safe shooting. Let me put those concerns to rest for all of you. We have been vetted by the Chief Firearms Office. Earlier this fall, I had a meeting with 2 local Chief Firearms officers at my farm. Through conversation and in great detail of what and how we do things when we are shooting on my farm, they concluded that we are not a police matter or a safety concern, and that we go above and beyond what is considered safe firearms practice. Some examples of that, and these are rules that I have on my farm when we shoot. It is not law. It's not required by any ranges. Some have rules. My rules are every firearm that is uncased on my farm has to have a chamber flag in it. A chamber flag is something that's in the chamber with a flag that shows that firearm is empty at all times. The only time a firearm is loaded is when someone is their turn to shoot. We have a safety meeting before every time we gather at my farm, whether it be trap shooting, target shooting, maybe some fun competition. We also have safety officers that work as safety officers at registered ranges throughout southwestern Ontario, Windsor, Kingsville, Chatham, Sarnia, Wallaceburg. We also have a 100-foot berm that's 8 feet high that backs up along a 15-acre bush as a safety backstop. We never start shooting before 9:30, 10 a.m. We have retired police, military, a couple correctional officers, a doctor, a couple nurses, and many other occupational people shooting with us at the farm. Besides that, we always have a first aid station set up in case of any injuries, heart attacks, strokes, boo-boos, whatever needs to be taken care of. We also have a number of different first responders who occasionally shoot with us and people who are well trained in first aid and CPR. This report that was done by the Chief Firearms Office, I believe, was passed down to the local OPP in town. Anyone can request this report through the Freedom of Information Act. Anyone concerned, I urge you to do so. I also understand there have been some complaints about noise. Let me address this as well. 80% of the time where we live in Kingsville, the winds are out of the southwest. The southwest blows any noise out to the second and third concessions. Half the time we're shooting, I go up to the barn to use the washroom, and you can't even hear it from my barn. Where we shoot on the farm is approximately 80% of a kilometer back from County Road 20. We are zoned agricultural. We are also zoned in the map of the township bylaws that allows us to discharge all legal, non-restricted firearms. We shoot maybe 6, 7, 8, let's just say at the most, maybe 10 times a year. There are 365 days in a year. There's, I don't think that's too unreasonable to, ask about noise, which is occasional once in a while.
Mr. Giles, 1 minute left.
Okay. As a person with a restricted firearms license, I have a background check done on me through CSIS every 24 hours. When was the last time any other of us restricted PAL holders have had a background check besides every day? So who is considered safer? Anybody who doesn't or anybody who does? When was the last time any of you had a background check other than any restricted firearms owners? The town of Kingsville firearms discharge bylaws are absolutely 100% fine as they are and have been, as they are pretty much exactly the same in every town, township, and county throughout southwestern Ontario. I stand in support of all law-abiding hunters, firearms owners, and sport and target shooters, and I urge you on behalf of all the hunters, target, sport shooters, and law-abiding firearms owners who take their sport seriously and safely to vote down this motion. If it's not broken, please don't fix it. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Right. Thank you very much. At this point, I would have a seat and then you have a question for the delegate. Mr. Giles, looks like Councillor Gaffin has got something for you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the delegate. Just wondering if it would be possible when you do shoot, if you could let the neighbors know so that they have a heads up.
So what I do is what I've been asked to do by the local OPP, so they're not running out all the time. There's a complaint, is to call the 1-800 number and let them know we will shooting from a certain time to a certain time. And anybody who does call in, they let them know what's going on and that it's not an issue and that there's no safety concerns whatsoever. Does that answer your question?
It definitely answers that question, but I was just wondering, as a good neighbor, like we had heard earlier in the other delegation, if it was just possible, if, you know, the surrounding, say.
Well, I mean, if the neighbors want to sign up for an email list on the town and I can let you guys know and you can send it out, but I'm not running around putting flyers in everybody's, you know, mailbox every time we decide to go out and have some fun.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Can you talk about the noise factor? So somebody said it sounds like, and I don't know kinds of guns, so forgive me, but it sounds like some kind of an automatic constant do. And you know, why can't you make it quieter?
Well, if we were allowed suppressors in Canada, which are absolutely, unfortunately, illegal, we could make it quieter. There is no automatic machine guns allowed in Canada. They've been banned since 1976. We shoot semi-automatic pump action, some bolt action, some lever action, non-restricted rifles and non-restricted shotguns. The noise really isn't that bad unless the wind is maybe blowing out of the northeast or the northwest, which will blow the sound closer to town. As I said, 80% of the time, most of the shots the sound is going out over the concessions. Also, when hunting season starts, early goose season and dove season, hunters are allowed to shoot half an hour before sunrise to half an hour after sunset. So 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, when early goose seasons come out behind my house, they light up nonstop. And it's like that all over the county. So 10 o'clock in the afternoon, morning and a Sunday till 3 or 4 in the afternoon on a Sunday, maybe 6, 7, 8 times a year, I don't think is too much of a problem.
I just got one question for you, because one thing I had heard is just in terms of the angle, in terms of where you're shooting and the proximity of the greenway being there. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that, please.
Absolutely. We shoot east. The greenway runs southwest to northeast. We are 200 yards south of the greenway. At no time ever has anybody ever shot towards the greenway. Like I say, we have a 100-foot berm that's 8 feet high. The targets are all kept low. The berm is about 20 feet deep. There's never been any kind of mishaps. Like I say, there's nothing going on nefarious towards the greenway or any other direction but the berm itself.
Has there ever been a death in sport shooting in Canada?
Actually, the only death I know of sport shooting in Canada, and I'm not talking about hunting, I'm talking about competition shooting, sports shooting, target shooting, was in BC, and I'm going to say it was probably 8-9 years ago, was an IPSC shooter. IPSC is a speed competition pistol match where you run an obstacle course and shoot around barriers and targets. He had a malfunction with his holster. Part of the holster broke, and as he drew his firearm, that piece of holster that broke fired the trigger, and he shot himself in the leg, and he bled out. Other than that, that is the only death in Canada that I know of from sport shooting.
Okay, thank you very much. So, question for the delegate?
The question I would have is more of I am totally surprised at the amount of delegates that are here tonight or for you to represent. You've been doing it for 10 years and it's just been brought to my attention. So whatever you've been doing very well. And I want to thank you guys and ladies for, being as safe as you are. I would have never realized that this much happened in that part of town. And like I said, it's just been brought to my attention. I was trying to write down a few facts when you're talking about having a CFA officer out. You have our local police out. It's in the right area. It's not it's in an area that has been set up years ago. I've not heard a complaint yet until this week. So congratulations on what you've done in the past, and I'm going to support you guys going forward. I think you're doing it right and you're doing it safe as can be. So thank you for what you're doing.
Since this is my motion, I feel like I need to say some things. So just like the last one, I'm not here to take away guns and shooting, just like we weren't here to shut down the lights. But just because there are people that have some issues. And so with several situations that are going on. So this has been in the works for about 6 months with various different scenarios that have been brought to our attention in different ways. So one area was Prince Albert. Our town is growing towards the west. We're anticipating a collector road. We anticipate more growth towards the west. And that subdivision is right on a borderline farmland. And so that there are concerns that as we grow that way, that it's very close. The next area is Lakeside Park, and being so close to the water. Pictures have been sent in of people with the duck blinds supposedly in the right locations, but with people sitting on the banks with their weapon, with geese flying into the park, with the children playing on the equipment. So there's issues around Lakeside Park. Then lastly, on Sea Cliff is
Just
recreational
want to remind
shooting.
everyone, right? Please, we got to keep it silent, please. Thank you.
So lastly was recreational shooting, and this had multiple people talking in frustration of this area, whether it was safe, whether it's allowed, are you allowed a gun range or a competition shooting? Is this something that's supposed to be, regulated somewhere else? Are we close to town? Are we close to the greenway? So these were the 3 main areas that brought this up. I think what everybody heard and the tagline or the buzzword was that we're going to take away firearm use in Kingsville. That's not what it is. So currently there is a map that's on the appendix of the bylaw. And so all this motion was doing was opening up this bylaw that's over 20 years old or going on 20 years old to say, does the town look different than it did 20 years ago? So do these boundaries need to be looked at? So it didn't say that no, you're no longer going to be able to hunt your land. I am not coming after a hunting community. It's saying, is there areas within this Schedule B that need to be looked at? And all of this motion is doing is giving administration the ability to look to see if there are issues within here that need to be addressed. Thank you.
I think at this point, I'm going to ask the clerk if you can just read the notice of motion that came forward, just in case you haven't read it on the agenda, and we're just kind of all clear as far as what the motion was.
So the motion is, whereas bylaw 10/2004 to regulate the discharge of firearms and bows within the town of Kingsville establishes areas in which the discharge of firearms and bows are permitted or not permitted and is based on traditional urban and rural areas. Whereas this bylaw is now 20 years old and there has been substantial residential growth throughout Kingsville. Whereas there are evolving needs and challenges in our communities regarding the discharge of firearms and bows. Whereas there have been advancements in firearm technology, changes in recreational shooting practices, and evolving demographics for hunting and sports shooting. Whereas the bylaw needs updated to balance between the rights of individuals engaging in recreational shooting or hunting and the peace and security of our residential neighborhoods. Therefore, I am submitting this notice of motion to request that council directs administration to commence the process of reviewing and amending bylaw 10/2004, which shall include public consultation.
Okay, I think before we go into this, I guess my first question is there a seconder for this motion? no seconder, then the motion will not move forward.
Yay! Look at her. Look at her face right to the mask. You gotta send me that.